Hello, I want to talk about a common reconciliation issue, which is when you check everything off that's on the statement and you still have extra items sitting in your reconciliation. So that is something that you definitely don't want to ignore. And a lot of times when people are reconciling, they'll get a zero difference, but they have some extra items in their reconciliation and they close out of the reconciliation because it balanced. But those extra items always need to be addressed. So we just want to make sure that we at least look at them and think through what's going on with them. So let's just go into an example here. So let's say that I pulled up my bank statement, I went through and I checked everything off that was on the bank statement, but I still have all of these extra items. So in the first example, let's say my difference is 0. So I have balanced everything, but I do have these extra items in here. So you can look at a couple things. First of all, for those extra items, when did they clear? So there's a column here for clear date. A lot of times you'll have an item in here and it might have shown up in the November reconciliation. So maybe somebody created a manual transaction and that happened in November, but it didn't actually clear the bank until later. So maybe it doesn't clear until December. So if you see a clear date that is in December, for example, then you know that transaction is going to clear in the December reconciliation. So if the clear date is later than the period you're reconciling, you can just leave it in there. That's okay to leave that in there. If you have a zero difference and you see some transactions that aren't clearing till later, that's okay. So then in that instance, you can go ahead and close out of the reconciliation. If you aren't seeing that's not clearing on a later date, so like with these, for example, where I'm moving my mouse, we can see these don't even have a clear date. So we would want to understand what's going on with those transactions. It could still be that they're going to clear the bank later, but we want to understand why. So if there's something like maybe there's a payroll transaction that was created in November, but it's not, the payment isn't going to go out until early December. That is okay. We just need to know the reason why that transaction is going to sit in there. If it's an older transaction and we can't figure out that it's going to hit the bank later, or maybe it has an older clear date, we need to look into that more and understand what's going on. So that's a bit of advanced troubleshooting, but usually you can kind of dig around and see what's going on with that transaction. A good idea is to go back to the bank register, go back to banking and then into that bank register and see what's going on. Oftentimes there's a duplicate. So maybe for some reason there was a duplicate entry. One of the entries got reconciled and the other one is extra. So, or you maybe had a transaction that was manually added by someone and it's just not necessary, or it's never going to hit the bank. So the most important thing is you're just going through these extra items and making sure you understand what's going on with them. So your main questions are they going to hit the bank later? So they're going to clear later. If so, they're probably okay. If they're not, you're not anticipating them to clear later, why are they there? Are they duplicates, or was there a manual entry that's not needed? So you're just kind of asking yourself these questions in order to troubleshoot those extra items that are showing up in your reconciliation. But always remember to address them. Don't just leave them in there without knowing what they are.